everyone, how you doing today? My name's Kirsty, aka Beth Bookish, and for the first time ever, I'm bringing you a vlog for Adventurerathon. What? Who is this? After what, 2 years? This is the 3rd year running Adventurerathon. She's finally doing a vlog for it. Yes, because it just so happens that the previous rounds, it seems every time I go to do a round, my health goes and I don't have the energy or the drive or the want to do anything. Whereas this round, I was prepared, I was ready, I want to do stuff, I can do stuff, I'm feeling better-ish with my health. Like the cold followed by my period followed by a migraine happened last week. So, if you are new here, hello and welcome. The Adventurerathon is my readathon. The current round is happening right now in November. I'm going to be splitting this vlog into 2 parts, so I'm going to do the first sort of 2 weeks of November. Part 2 will be sort of probably at the very beginning of December or the very end of November. It's essentially inspired by D&D. You can build a character, take them on various adventures. Our current adventure, we are exploring an island that we did in our very first adventure. We have gone back because some crazy stuff is happening. These beans have appeared all over the place. And now we have to collect the beans and then decide as a group whether or not we want to grow the beanstalk that has also magically appeared or destroy the beans, because we're not going to trust that. And so far we've had a few submissions, which is insane because it's only like the 4th. We've had a few submissions and so far it's looking interesting. But I have done a TBR, so please do go check out my TBR. I have started to read some books, but the big thing that is different about this vlog compared to other vlogs and stuff that I've done is I have little challenge cards. I decided, as it's the Adventurerathon, that was upside down, I could be adventurous and do some different things and do some activities. My character, Maytharanel, is a seer, and so what I've done with these activities, some of them are linked to the idea of the adventurer and having an adventure. Some of these are linked to being a seer, and then there's a couple that I will describe them when I get to them as to why I've chosen them. I plan on doing all of these challenges, so I'm not going to tell you every single one now. You will find out what the challenges are by watching the vlogs. I have 8, so the plan is to do 4 in each vlog. But before I draw the first challenge, we will talk about what I am currently reading, where I'm at. The first book I started is Now Conjurers by Freddie. This is a YA, The Craft, which is a movie I have never seen, but I know it's like a 90s cult classic, and it has actually been mentioned in this. You've got this coven of witches. One of them has been murdered, and the 4 that are remaining who are linked to him, one of them is his sister, one of them is his boyfriend, and then 2 of them are his best friends, and the 4 of them are now coming together to find out who did it and why. So far all we've really found out is that it seems like Bastion, who is the one that died, he is the one that seems to be the central point, and since he's passed it feels like the magic's not working. And all we know is that 9 years previously, when they were children, Bastion and his sister Dove found a body of a woman, and she died in very similar circumstances and ways to how Bastion did, and Dove left him with her so she could go and get their mum. She said that she regrets doing that because in that 5 minutes he seemed to change. So little things like his speech changed, and every sentence he has to start with the letter N. He also sometimes gets stuck on himself and gets like a bit of a stutter. And that was when the magic started, because each one of them has had something happen magically since the coven began. So they've all experienced this magic and they've all benefited it in some way. So now that Bastion is gone and they're needing that magic to try and figure out what happened to him and why he died and all of this, they're finding that the magic seems to have disappeared because maybe it was him and it's linked to this body. I'm not really sure if I'm loving this. I'm not liking the way it's being told, because we keep getting bits like, oh, remember this guy, he's going to be important later. And you can tell it's Nesbit telling his story from a later point and reflecting back, but it's being told in such a way that it's like he's sitting having a conversation with you and saying, oh, make a note of this, keep an eye on this. And I don't mind when that's done, but it's not my favourite method of storytelling. I love feeling like I'm being told a story and that it's someone's memories that they're telling me. But I don't like when they tell you, oh, remember this and this will be important. And, oh, I didn't realise until years later how it just kind of almost gives it away. And it feels almost like I'm being spoon-fed clues, and I don't want to be. Because, you know, I am an oblivious idiot. I tend to not pick clues up until I'm being smacked in the face with the answer. Whereas this is telling me, oh, you should be thinking of these things. And I'm like, cool, can I not just think of it for myself? I'm not really connecting with any of the characters, and I'm not really feeling any kind of emotion from it so far. Which is really annoying, because I also picked this for the Seer bonus prompt, which is a 5-star prediction. Yet again proving that I am trash at predicting my own favourite books. But I am going to keep going with it for now at least. It's not that I'm not enjoying it, it's just that I don't know if I'm loving it, and I don't think it's going to be the 5 stars. Currently it's sitting on about a 3.5. So we shall see how that goes. But one I have slightly higher hopes for, and I'm thoroughly enjoying, even though I only started it last night, is Welcome to the Hyunam-Dong Bookshop. I've already got a couple of bits. There is a passage in here that is just so wonderful, talking about books and the impact that books and reading have on you throughout life, and that even though you might not remember the details of books, they stick with you, and your head doesn't need to remember the details when your heart will remember it for you. And as long as you can think of a book and remember the feelings, it doesn't matter if you don't remember the details. And I was like, oof, I love that. That was so beautiful. And yeah, it's a translated cozy fiction about a woman called Youngju who owns a bookshop. Her life went to shit. She went, fine, I've always dreamt of having a bookshop. I'm going to have a bookshop, and now she has a bookshop. And we're just following the day-to-days going on, a little bit of reflection on her early days when she set everything up and how she struggled and overcame those struggles. And I think it's going to be a good one. I think I'm going to really enjoy it, and I am really enjoying it so far, so I have high hopes for that. And I don't think I've started anything else yet. I am continuing on Mort from previous month. I have a couple of other books that I'm carrying over, but unfortunately Mort is the only one that is within the threshold, because I did bring in a new rule for Adventurerathon this year that as long as you are no more than 25% in, you can carry on a book from your previous month. And so Mort, I was on, I think I worked out I was on 23% or 22%, so I am continuing that on, and then the other 2 books will be in my generic November wrap up in December. But anyway, let's stop yapping and find out what my first task of this vlog is going to be. As I said, there's a mixture of stuff. Some will be going outdoors and doing things, some will be staying in, some will be just, I don't know, we'll see. So our first challenge is going to be play World of Warcraft. Okay, I've played World of Warcraft since I was a teenager. I did stop playing for a good 8-9 years, and then last year I started to get back into it. But World of Warcraft, you are an adventurer running around filling quests and doing all these adventure-y things. So that's why I decided to include that in this, because I was thinking yesterday I need to get onto it so I'm not wasting my money by not playing. I've purchased subscription time, I should probably actually fulfill it. Let's continue reading and go play some World of Warcraft. I might even double reading and World of Warcraft up with an audiobook. But let's go do some stuff. I have finished my first thing for the month and I wasn't expecting to. It wasn't on my TBR, but I forgot. It was a follow-on, like a, oh, what's the word? Why can I not think? Oh my god. It was a continue on. My brain is genuinely struggling to, here you have something and you're gonna pass it on to the next month and I can't think what the term is. Oh my god. Anyway, it was on my October TBR and I didn't get round to it, but I didn't plan on getting to it this month, and that was Something is Killing the Children Omnibus by, can you tell that I have started this without any looking at anything? I just, James Tynion the Fourth. Yeah. I know Roman numerals. This was an omnibus edition that was put up on NetGalley. I think they did it for like a short-term thing over Halloween to try and get people into reading it. And I have given this 4 stars. I had a great time. I have told Jona that I now need to start collecting this series immediately. And yeah, this is a series where we begin with this small town where there have been multiple children who have gone missing. Some have turned up dead, and we begin the story following a group of boys who are killed and basically torn to pieces by this mysterious entity. But for the majority of the children, they have just gone completely missing. No one knows where they are, who did it, all of this. So we then have this strange woman rock up in town and she's all like, hey, to the only known survivor of any of these attacks, she's like, hey, you're going to tell me where I can find this thing, and reveals that she is actually a hunter who hunts monsters. So in this world, monsters exist. Adults can't see them. Once you hit that threshold between childhood and adulthood, kind of like with the series Lock and Key, if you've ever seen that, adults can't see the magic and don't believe in it, so they don't see it, and it shows one of the teenagers going through that as he becomes 18 and he starts to forget. And it's a similar thing here where once you become an adult you forget about the monsters, but the monsters don't stop existing. They will still kill you whether or not you see them, which is quite scary. So yeah, we're following this story of her helping them. We also do have a bit of a backstory for her. The main character's name is Erica Slaughter. I really liked her as a character. She made me laugh a few times, especially when she was younger and first meeting everyone. Just her interactions, especially when like she's got this adopted brother called Aaron, and the way that they connect with each other makes me laugh so much. And I will say, there was a moment where I was sat there like, huh? Why? What? And so because Aaron came into it, I thought he was going to be a really prominent character, and then he kind of wasn't, and I was really confused by that. And I was like, huh? What? But I still had a great time. I really like that dynamic. I really liked Erica as a character. I think she's a badass, and she's kind of got that good blend between being a badass and being vulnerable. She is starting to really fall out of the graces of the people who took her in as a child and have trained her to be this hunter. She is starting to rebel and push back because their thing is all about protecting the secret of monsters. So they don't want anyone to know, and it's meant to be kept secret. People can't know that monsters exist, and that is their job. They're not about preserving life, they're not about saving people, they are about protecting the secrets. Whereas she's very much about protecting people and believes that the focus shouldn't be on keeping the secret, the focus should be on stopping people from dying. And we come into this story when she's right at that point where she is just done and she wants to walk away and give it all up. We're following a little bit of that story, and we're getting an introduction to the world and the kind of monsters and how things are and how one becomes a hunter. We got quite a lot, which I didn't realise until I was finished and looked it up. I didn't realise that the omnibus was 512 pages, so I was like, oh, I read quite a lot today. 500 pages of this graphic novel, and I'm very happy with it, and I definitely want to continue. It was graphic and it made me uncomfortable, but even though it was gory, it wasn't super ultra HD everything. It was more blurred, and the style of the art had a slightly more almost blurry effect to it, which I appreciated because it didn't need the super graphic. It gave graphic enough that I was suitably chilled and but not so graphic that I was freaking out. So I really did enjoy that. 4 stars. However, have I got any idea what prompt I'm using it for? No, I don't. So I'm just going to bring up the prompts for Adventurerathon now, because you're allowed to swap 3 different things out. So once your TBR is locked in, you're not allowed to change anything. You're allowed to swap 3 things. Before or after that, you have to buy an item to do it. I am thinking I might change 1 or 2 of my prompts. Why can I not find prompts? What? I've even got a thing. It's like this round. Current round. There we go. Main prompts. Ooh, actually, one of the prompts I said I was skipping. If you check my TBR for November out, I was going to skip because I didn't have anything. It's supposed to be a grimdark dystopic, post-apocalyptic, or like a dark romance, so it has to be like really super dark and gritty. I think this kind of counts. It's not fully grimdark, but it was grim and it was dark. So I'm going to count it for Crone's Rest, which I didn't have anything for. So I don't think that counts as a swap, because I wasn't even intending on using that. I don't get any other bonuses though, because obviously I didn't pick it expecting it to be a 5-star read. So I won't be doing it for that. I also, while I've been reading today and the last couple of days, I've been watching reading vlogs, and I've been trying new booktubers who I don't typically watch or have never watched. I literally just went onto YouTube, typed in reading vlogs, and then filtered it by posted this week and then most relevant, and I've just been scrolling through and selecting ones that seem interesting. Watching people read and watching reading vlogs for some reason always motivates me to want to read. So I then was like, do you know what, I want to read something on my Kindle because I'm getting a bit, not bored, but I'm struggling a little bit with physical reads. So I decided I'm going to pick up my ARCs. So what I did, I have my ARC shelves in my reading journal. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, rolled a d6, which gave me shelf number 5, I believe it was. No, shelf number 6. And then I rolled a d10 and I got a 6 again. So I ended up with a double 6. And I ended up with A Murder of Rogues by Joe Heap, which actually came out this year. I am only a few months late with this one. It's a Regency one, which I'm learning is becoming a bit of a buzzword, and we have a female who is disguised as a male in order to go to Oxford to get a top-tier education, then receives a blackmail letter from someone going, I know your secret and I'm going to out you, only the blackmailer turns up dead, and suddenly she's the main suspect and has to join this club, which is like the Rogues Club that this guy was also a member of, and she ends up having to join in order to try and clear her name and figure out who actually killed him. It's been described as it's a dark academia meets Regency historical romance romp type thing. So I am intrigued, and I don't know how, but in the first 20 minutes I've managed to read 12% of this book, which is about 50 pages. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I keep forgetting that when I read ebooks, I read at triple the speed that I read at normal, and I'm already an extraordinarily fast reader. So where on a physical book I can read about 100 pages an hour, on ebook I can read about 250 an hour when I really get going. So I clear books extraordinarily fast on ebook. I just don't get to them, and I don't know why. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I also played some World of Warcraft, as the prompt said, and as you will have already seen, which does mean it's time to pick up another prompt and another challenge. Did I bring the cards up with me when I came up, knowing that I was about to film? Of course I didn't, and of course my battery is about to die. So I'm going to run down, go and get those, and then we will do the next prompt, or the next, like, challenge, I guess, and I'll be back soon. Got them. Shuffle, 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 see what we're gonna get, and we have... Ooh! Yay! I was looking forward to this one. Leaf Hunt. This one is me, it involves me going out and about, essentially linking to one of the bounties, which is Wild Offerings. There is a golden retriever called Stella who is quite famous on social media for her owners building up leaf piles and her going running into them. So we decided to pay homage to her by encouraging everyone to go out and pick a leaf and submit to the Wild Offerings of a pretty picture of a leaf. So I decided to play on that. I'm not going to pick one leaf, I'm going to pick multiple. It's going to be difficult because looking out, like my favourite tree, literally in the space of about 5 days, has gone from still having most of its leaves to being 2/3 gone. So this is actually the ideal week, because I reckon if this one came up, say in the final week of November, there would be no leaves left. But I am going to take advantage of autumn. I'm going to go on a walk. I'm going to pick as many leaves as I can that have got a nice pretty array of colours. And then my plan is to when I've collect them all, bring them home, lay them out, and then take a really nice photo with like the gradient of autumn. And if it comes out nice enough, then I'm planning on printing it and having it put up on my wall, on my gallery wall. Because you guys only see part of it, but I actually have a little gallery wall that I'm building. And I've started to frame stuff for it. So if it comes out well enough, sort of in this, where is it? In that gap in the corner, this gap here, I'll have a nice pretty autumnal leaf photo thing. So yeah, that is going to be the next one. I'm excited. You'll either get another update or you're coming with me on a leaf walk, but either way, I'll be back soon with an update. That was going to be terrible. Hello. I have completed 2 books and I've left one over there, of course. Why would I do that? Why would I be stupid? Got it, I got it. I have completed 2 more books for the month, which I was not expecting, and we have 2 Nalini Singhs. I have actually, with these books, used up 2 out of my 3 swaps. So like I said, in Adventurerathon, you can swap 3 books within your TBR. After that, you have to buy a special item, which I do have, I think, 2 or 3 in my inventory, because every round I buy 1 or 2 because I know how much I swap my reading, and I know that I'm an idiot for that. So I have cashed in 2 of my 3 swaps. And so let's see if I can remember what I swapped. The Unknown Depths was originally going to be My Hero Academia, and I think the Guildhall, which was also going to be My Hero Academia, I've swapped them out for these. I have read both of these. I think each one has taken me less than a day. Something about Nalini Singh's writing, it is so readable and so easy to just dive into and so easy to just get lost in that I sit down to read when I've got into a bit of a routine at the minute. I'm going to bed about 7 p.m, reading till about 8:30, 9, and then going to sleep. And I'm finding that in that hour to an hour and a half, if it's a Nalini Singh, I'm reading sort of up to 200 pages at a time. And then during the day, I'm just picking it up and reading bits and pieces. So I have finished both of these, and I've given Mind to Possess, which is book 4 in the Side Changeling series. I gave this one 3 stars, or 3.5. And Hostage to Pleasure is book 5. No, it's not. Yeah. Is book 5, and this one I have given 4.5. Mind to Possess is one of my least favourites in the entire series because I do not like the dynamic between Clay and Talon in this. Clay is so pushy with her. He disrespects every single boundary she lays down, and she's like, oh, you're not allowed, I don't want you to do this, and she's very, very like, I do not want you to go down. And yet the second they end up in bed, the first thing he does is that, despite the fact that she said no. And afterwards he's like, wasn't so bad, was it? And it's like, just because she ended up enjoying it, the way he did it was really bad for me, because he didn't check in with her. He wasn't gentling her through it. She didn't give him permission to try. He just did it and was like, oh, I'll deal with it later. And some of the early books in this series, really, I've forgotten just how awful the consent and the boundaries are in this. So yeah, I did not like their dynamic. I loved Talon as a character. I'm not such a fan of Clay, and he is one of my least favourite love interests in this entire series. But then we moved on to Hostage to Pleasure, and in this one we followed Dorian and Ashaya. Ashaya is a scientist who has just broken free from the control of those who are holding her, and she's also got a son who is currently in the care of Dorian, who in book 1, when we first meet him, his sister has just been murdered by someone of her race, and there is a lot of complexities there. He is dealing with a lot of internal grief, but also he's got a lot of conflict between, I'm falling for this woman who is the epitome of everything I hate. So there's also a lot of self-hate there, and there's a little bit of conflict because his leopard and the changeling in him is like, I don't care, I want this woman, she is my mate. But the human side of him is like, but I hate her. And yet their dynamic I loved. I really love Ashaya as a character. She's one of my favourites. She's this like really cool-headed clinical scientist, but then when she lets loose, she's just unhinged, and I love her. So I gave this one 4.5 because, again, there were still a couple of issues. I didn't like some of his pushiness. I'm learning. I like the dominance and I like their protectiveness, but I don't like the way that they kind of push the boundaries, and especially towards the site, who are these people who have never experienced emotion and, well, not never, since childhood they have had emotion programmed out of them, and everything that every sensation they are feeling is new and scary. And I do feel like a lot of the time the changelings are a little bit too forward, and I'm definitely finding that, because I'm now reading book 6, and in 6 books so far we've had 3 out of 6 books be a female Psy with a male changeling, and 1 book where it's a male Psy and a female changeling, and I much preferred that dynamic. Like, Coerced by Ice just almost feels like a different series. So yeah, I'm definitely learning there are some dynamics and some parts of this series I really do not like, but I still am just loving it, and it's helping me get out of my slump, and it's really supercharging my reading, so I'm not going to complain about it. So yeah, 3.5, 4.5, and I am now on to book 6 in the series, which I believe is book 4 for the month. I started it this morning. I've only read for about half an hour and I'm 50 pages in. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this one. I don't think I'll get it done today, maybe tomorrow, but you know, at that rate I'm reading them at like 1 a day on average, so I am quite happy with that. But it also means that we get a new challenge, because as you saw, I did go on my little walk. I did pick up my leaves and I went on my leaf hunt. It's time to have a new activity. So what are we gonna get? I am terrible at shuffling, by the way, just FYI. Okay. This is one of my seer prompts. As I said, my character is a seer and a tarot class. I own a deck of cards, and I have a book that is specifically like a little tarot lesson thing. So each page has a different card, and you can write down what that card means to you and what it means in general. And it's kind of like a little guided tarot, learn how to do tarot. And I've been learning on and off for years, but I do want to start taking it a bit more seriously. Because yeah, you know, all of these things, I take it with a pinch of salt, and things like, you know, horoscopes and star signs and things like that. It's mumbo jumbo, it means nothing, but it is a bit of fun every now and again. But with tarot, there's just something more to that, and I have always felt quite connected to tarot, and I've always loved the idea of it. So yeah, it's time to actually get my cards out and start doing things. So I'm gonna pick a few and do some studying on my tarot, which, like I said, is one of my seer activities. On to the next book and on to the next activity, and hopefully I can get both done in enough time to do one more, so that I can get this vlog out before the sort of 20th ideally would be nice. Catch you on the next update. Before I begin this update, look at the baby. It's a very, very, very cute little baby, and I love her so much. And yes, that is my hoodie that I bought for myself for Christmas. Yeah, it's now hers apparently. I've also just realised I've left my book. I need to. Oh God, why do I put stuff on top of stuff so then I can't reach it? That could have gone badly, but it didn't. Okay, I have a couple of reading updates and a couple of reviews, and I've decided that even though I've called this Adventurerathon vlog, this is essentially my November wrap up, because every book that I plan on reading or have been reading fits Adventurerathon, so I'm not going to have anything extra. So I've decided that this is just going to be my reading wrap up, but also vlog. So yeah, I have finished 2 more books, both of which I was not planning on reading for the Readathon. Well, one was impromptu but fits a bounty. One was extremely impromptu. I bought it last night and finished it about 15 minutes ago. Yeah, we'll get into those. I am going to be using my last swap, but the first thing I wanted to talk about were the activities. So as you know, I've been pulling these little activity cards, and I was a little bit concerned because I was like, my reading slowed down a tiny bit. I say that and then did what I did today. But my reading generically has slowed down a little bit, so I was like, oh god, am I going to run out of time? But what I'm going to do is part 2 of this vlog is going to be in December instead of, I was going to try and get it out in November, but then I was like, I won't get all the wrap up and the finale. So I've decided that it's going to be in December for part 2. So I don't need to stress quite so much. But the thing with the activities, I was like, oh, am I going to run out of time for those? Then a friend of mine, we got in touch with each other, we've been talking, and we were like, hey, we keep meaning to go out and do something, and one of the activities, I've lost the card because they got knocked off the desk the other day and I only found 7 out of 8 of them, but the one that I was most worried about is called Explore Somewhere New. And so that was, I could either go somewhere or go to a new location or whatever. We are going to the National Space Centre tomorrow in Leicester. I have never been, and I've always wanted to. I've never visited a planetarium. The closest I have been to like a space centre is the National Science Museum in London. That's, I think, the closest I've come to a planetarium type thing. So yeah, we planned on going to this like 10 years ago or something, and we didn't, and it's like better late than never. We're gonna go now. So that's gonna be my 4th and final activity for part 1 of the vlog, which I will insert the clips after this, and that will round off part 1. But in terms of reading, I have completed 1 bounty and 1 prompt. The bounty that I've completed is Branded by Fire by Nalini Singh. This is book 5 or 6 I think, in the Psy Changeling series. This is the 3rd book in a week, and I've been loving getting back into it. I have realised though, it's one of those ones like the Gilmore Girls. The older I'm getting, the more I dislike the series. I used to love it when I was younger, but every time I rewatch it, I realise just how abhorrent the characters all are, and they are all just really bad. And it's similar with this series. I still love it. Would I still consider it my absolute all-time favourite series? Probably. But I am realising that, I've talked about it a little bit earlier in the vlog, that some of the relationships are really not great, especially the attitudes of the males towards the females. You can be protective without being possessive, and you can respect people's boundaries while still also getting your own way. And I feel like there is a lot of boundary respecting being broken, and I said that mostly the issue I have is with the Psy changeling relationship, especially when it's like a male changeling and a female Psy. But this one is a changeling pairing. It's the first time we get a real conflict with that kind of pairing, because it is a leopard female and a wolf male. We've got Riley and Mercy. Both of them are, you've got the alpha of the pack, and then each of them, for the wolves they're called lieutenants, for the leopards they're called sentinels, who are kind of like their knights kind of thing. So if you imagine the alpha is the king, and these are their sworn guards, and they're the protectors of the pack. And so Mercy has always had this trouble where she can see that all of her male compatriots are settled down and mated. She's at the point where she wants that, but the problem she's got is because she is so dominant, like she is the most dominant female in the pack, and the only way for her that she would ever mate is to someone who is more dominant than her, but not so dominant that she would feel like she was being put down. And that's a really, really tentative and shitty balance to try and find, especially as now the last person that was even potentially someone that she would even consider had just mated. So she's like, well shit, guess I need to start looking elsewhere. But she doesn't want to leave because there is all this external conflict going on as well. The world is at the brink of war right now, and there are things falling apart left, right and centre. So she's like, it is too precarious, I cannot leave, but I'm also, I need something. And she's like, I also need to get laid. And there's a very, very little option. However, that is where we bring in Riley, who is the second in command to the alpha of the wolves. He is that exact combination of, he is slightly more dominant than her, but doesn't make her feel like he's the dominant one. But then there is a huge big internal conflict between the two of them, because to mate with someone, when you've got two species that mate together, the less dominant one ends up being pulled into the pack, or the whatever they're called, because some call them packs, some call them clans, some call them wings, depending on what species you are. But whoever the lesser dominant one is, they will end up having to leave their pack and be ingrained into the more dominant one, which for Mercy means that she would have to join the wolves, and she's kind of like, fuck no, do I want that? But then there's Riley, who he's always imagined that his mate is going to be someone very gentle and submissive, and he's never wanted or been attracted to dominance until Mercy. So he's trying to put aside every single ounce of him to not make her feel like he's trying to dominate her and make her submissive, and he's trying to not baby her or gentle her. But they both slip up with each other throughout this. I'm not even going to say that it's all plain sailing, but oh my god, these two, I love them. And this one starts with a bang. Like, there is action of the spicy in the first chapter. It is really good. I really do enjoy these two. I gave this one 4.5 because we're getting back up there with how great the series is. But yeah, I have slowed down. I did pick up Blaze of Memory, which is book 7. I'm hesitant with this one because, again, it's a bit of a bully romance. Not a bully romance, he's just... We've got a human and a Psy coming up. And Dev isn't my favourite character, and Katya isn't. But I don't know, they might surprise me this time around. But Dev, I remember, is one of those, he's very domineering and very much push, 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 push. Not for anything sort of sexual or anything, but just I do remember she's got amnesia, and he is really pushing her to remember, and it kind of backfires a little bit. So I'm not so excited for the next book, but then the next two after that are two of my favourites in the entire series, so I'm just like, I need to get through this one to get to those. So we shall see how that goes in part 2. And then the other one that I finished today, I saw an ad on Facebook pop up for something that I have never been inclined to read, something I was never planning on ever reading. It is a hockey romance. Did I ever think that I would ever in a million years pick up a hockey romance? No. But on the ad it showed the cover of the book, and it was sort of doing like a, oh, why I would never pick this book up, because I wouldn't want to read about a main character with PCOS and epilepsy. I don't want to read about a strapping hockey player who's a dad who is also a cinnamon roll. I don't want to read a book where he looks up the condition she has and makes her a goodie basket to make her feel better. And I was like, oh no, because I am a bit of a sucker for a single parent. I have realised that that is something I enjoy. Accidental pregnancy and a book that centres on pregnancy I really quite like, and I really love the single parent trope when there's no drama with the other parent. So in this case it's because the mother of his daughter unfortunately passed, and they weren't even in a relationship properly to begin with. They had already broken up when she realised she was pregnant, and they agreed, we're not going to stay together, we're not going to force ourselves to be together when we know that we're not going to work, we know we're not going to be happy. So they worked it out. It was rough. And then at the start of this book, it would help if I tell you what the book is called. It's called 3 Pucking Words by, can I remember the author name? Of course not. B.Celeste. Honor is the daughter of the head coach for the New York Rangers hockey team. As a result, she hates anything to do with the sport and hockey because her dad was always away. Her mum and dad weren't together. Her dad was always away with work, and so she was left with a mum who was an alcoholic and was just not a very good mum. So she's had a very dysfunctional upbringing. She then entered into a relationship with a guy, got married to him. She knew that he was mostly with her because of the connections that her dad had, but she didn't realise just how bad it was and just how loveless the marriage was and how she was the only one that put any effort in until she started to get sick. She'd had a few epileptic episodes when she was younger and had had some grand mal seizures, but then they started to come back and get worse. Only her husband just didn't seem to care. And then she was diagnosed with PCOS. So if you don't know what that is, it's polycystic ovary syndrome. And one of the side effects of that is having trouble losing weight. And it's not just because of the hormones, there's multiple factors. And he starts to like comment on that and things. But the story begins with her in a bar. She was meant to meet with a friend, but the friend's son got sick, so had to cancel. And she got talking to this guy. They talked for hours. Nothing else happened, but they just talked for hours about their hopes, their dreams, their futures. He tells her that he just found out that his ex-girlfriend is pregnant with his kid. She's talking about how she's given up all of her dreams for her husband, who seems to just not even care about her. And the pair of them end the night with, when she realises, like, this kid comes up and he's like, oh my god, you're Bodie I've already forgotten his surname, Hoffman, something like that. And he's like, yeah, hey. And she's like, oh my god, he's a hockey player, please don't tell me. And it turns out that he is one of the star players of her dad's team. And she's just like, fuck no. And she goes to the bathroom to go and sort of calm down. And when she comes back, he's gone. We find out why later, why it is that he was gone, and it wasn't that he just abandoned her, but she was like, okay, well, clearly it was just like, you know, fate decided not today. And then she goes back to her husband. We then skip 7 years, and in that time she has divorced, moved in with her dad, who has a weird relationship with her. Like, for example, the team didn't even know that he had a daughter. So when she comes back, he's like, hey, Bodie, would you mind taking my estranged daughter out for the day to help introduce her to the city, or reintroduce her to the city and all of this? And he's like, yeah, sure. Gets there. She remembers him, clearly, because he's a celeb. He doesn't remember her. Like, we find out through the book, he does remember that night, but he doesn't remember the person he spoke to. And gradually we just watch these two come together, fall in love, all of this. I loved Bodie. He was absolutely incredible. He had one or two slight moments where I was a bit, but then he reined it back and I was like, okay, cool. I didn't like Honor very much. I felt she, for being a 30-year-old woman, she was so immature about everything. Her and this is coming from me, who is self-admittedly quite emotionally immature. I think a 15-year-old would have been better than she was. And I didn't like how she was written. I didn't find her a character I particularly was rooting for. I understand some of it, you know, having the way her husband was be towards her and the family and the upbringing she's had. She's got barriers and walls, but just the way she was, at times it was like, grow up. She really did annoy me. The medical side of things, as someone who I am currently questioning potentially that if I have PCOS myself, we're currently on that. Is it endometriosis? Is it PCOS? Is it both? We don't know, and we're not going to know for quite a while yet, but I do have signs and symptoms of potentially both. So that I was very interested in, but it just felt quite surface level. Like, we were told she had epilepsy, she's got a service dog, and yet other than being told that she's had these seizures, we've not received anything. It would have been nice, not nice as in I wanted her to have a seizure, but it would have added to the story more if she'd have had 1 or 2 episodes or something throughout that really showed what she goes through and what people that go through these seizures go through. And with the PCOS, at the very start of the book, she's being told by the doctors, oh, we've got to do either this or this, but then nothing else really is said about it, apart from 1 or 2 comments about her weight and how that's linked. Nothing else really gets said until the very end. And I felt like, is this an author who has these issues and is wanting to write real experiences into a story to bring awareness and really reflect and represent these illnesses? Or is this an author who's trying to have a character have some quirks and make them seem more interesting? So I will critique that and how that felt to me. And as with any kind of representation, yes, it would be nice if the author themselves it was their own voices and they were talking from experience. But I am not someone like, if I read a book and the main character suffers with migraines, but the author doesn't, as long as they have done their research, had sensitivity readers, and properly interview people who have the condition so that they can respectfully and reflectively write about that experience, I have zero issue with people including them. But when it's something that comes across as an author's just kind of gone, what sounds like it would be interesting to write, and not really put a lot of detail in. And it is one of those, if you are going to put a disability, obviously it doesn't need to be the entire story and take over everything, but it needs to be more than very surface level. There were a few typos in there that at times threw me out of the story. The one that I cannot forgive was when the male said something and then they wrote, she casted him a look, and I was like, there is no such word as casted, it's she cast him a look. And I was like, that is such a glaringly big error. But there were, I would say every 3 or 4 chapters there would be a very slight typo that when there's 1 or 2 in a book you expect it, you know. Even traditionally published books that have gone through rounds of edits, you still expect 1 or 2 typos here and there. But this was kind of like double digits by the end of the book, and I was like, how many passovers has this had? Further on in the book, the more they were slipping in. That kind of annoyed me a little bit. It did get to the end, I was like, ugh. Like there was one sentence where it was things like saying, oh, he would have to be doing this, and it just said he would have to doing this. And I was like, you've missed out the word. It was just the word be, but it made a really big difference to the reading, and it sort of pulled me out the story for a minute. So like I said, you expect a few, but there were more than just 1 or 2, and it was kind of getting to the point where it was like, okay. Also, I did not enjoy the smut in this. There was only a couple of scenes, and I do appreciate that. It was quite a slow burn. Even though there was a bit of an attraction there from the start, the actual romance was a slow burn. I did appreciate that, and I liked that they went from friends and they built from there. And I loved that there was mutual respect and trust and communication between them. There wasn't a crappy third act breakup. I will say that. There was none of this third act crap. And there were some really fantastic moments. It just, like I said, for the disability rep, it felt very surface level, needed a little bit more for me. I didn't like Honor as a character, and Bodhi wasn't fantastic enough to flesh that out. I have given this a 3.5 stars though, because I will say it was very easy to read. Like I said, I saw the advert last night, I started reading it, and I finished it today, and it was 372 pages. So if nothing else, I read almost 400 pages in not even 24 hours. I mean, romance for me is always a very, very fast read, and I've already said when I read on ebook, I read at double my usual speed. So add in the fact that it was a romance, I was reading at my triple speed. But yeah, it was fun. Did I enjoy the hockey, and do I think I will pick up more hockey romances? 50-50 on that one. If one comes up that seems to really attract me, like with this one, it wasn't the hockey, it was the single dad. So if there's a similar setting where there is that kind of thing, then yeah, I will happily pick another one up. I did used to watch hockey quite a lot. One of my best friends at uni was Canadian, and her family are all big on hockey, and we used to like stay up until sort of 3-4 in the morning watching hockey. And for a while I used to have like a Montreal Canadiens jersey, and I was a big Montreal supporter. I did enjoy it, and I would like to get back into it. It's mainly the time zones is what I struggle with, and actually accessing it. But I did have a bit of nostalgia reading it, but I wouldn't say that the hockey itself was the main draw for me. It was a pretty solid read. It wasn't my absolute favourite, and I had a few issues, but I had a good time while I was reading it. So that is where I'm at. Oh, what prompt? For this one, I realise, for Branded by Fire, this one was the Kitty Capers bounty. because every single book in the Psy-Changeling universe features the leopards, even if it's just a mention of them. They are in every single one, so any book from now on that I pick up that's a Psy-Changeling for the rest of this month will automatically fulfill that, because with bounties you can repeat them. And then with the 3 pucking words, I am using my final swap for my TBR. So instead of reading Tender is the Flesh for the, is it the Unknown Depths or something? What was it? Everglow Falls, which was a book that makes you uncomfortable, so it could be a new genre, last chance author, creepy cover, creepy content, whatever. I originally had Tender is the Flesh, but I have decided I'm going to swap that out for 3 pucking words because I have always avoided hockey romances, so I'm going to count it for that because it is a new to me type subgenre of romance, and if it wasn't for the single dad and the disability rep, I never would have even considered it. So yeah, I'll count that as uncomfortable. That is where I'm at, and like I said, with going to the Space Centre tomorrow, that will then be my 4th activity and little thing that I wanted to do. So I'm gonna cut to that now. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget this is part 1, so there will be a part 2. Please make sure that if you are enjoying this, you subscribe so that you get the next video. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. If you are taking part in Adventurerathon yourself, let me know how you're getting on in the comments. And I will see you on the next one. Enjoy these clips from the Space Centre. It's kind of cool because it's like...
First floor.
Oh, I thought we were going to start the top way down.